Good morning, everybody. My mic is turned on. Welcome to Caffeinated Change. Today I'm having an iced coffee. Caffeinated Change, episode 6. How are you all doing out there? How are you? It's good to be here with you. It feels like this summer is one second. It feels like for me, this summer is one of reconnection with myself, a lot of rest, a lot of regrouping after the last year that we've all collectively been through, but all individually been through as well. And so it's really interesting for me to come on here from week to week and talk about change when so much of the change that I'm thinking about right now is so personal. So I wonder how you're doing. If you're here with me, please let me know in the comments. Drop me a hi, drop me a good morning. How are you doing? As always, before I want to get into the topics today, which include serendipity, trust, joy, collaboration, vision, hope, all these really optimistic future thinking topics, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the land that I'm on. I am in Verdun. These are unceded indigenous lands. And I recognize the Gunyunkahaga Nation as the guardians, custodians of the lands and waters upon which I live, and lands and waters that I hope to positively contribute to as I continue venturing forward with my work. I really want my work to have a positive impact, not just on my clients and the businesses that I work with, but also on the communities that are touched by the businesses I support, on the physical environments that the businesses that I support interact with, and that includes the environment, that includes the planet. I really see my work as, I see culture building work and leadership development work as work that encourages people to start thinking about the systems that they are a part of, the systems they uphold, the systems that support them, and the ecosystems that they contribute to. And my deep belief is that the more we think about ourselves as contributing to an ecosystem, the more strategic we become in our visioning, the more engaged we become in our conversations, the more open-hearted we become in our relationship building. I think, shifting to an ecosystem mindset and recognizing that we're all part of these vast networks of stakeholders. It's a very empowering experience to recognize how connected we are to the greater system. So, how are you? How are you doing? I feel like I'm going to say that a few times. I'm trying out a new location for this Caffeinated Change. I mentioned in the last one that my partner was moving in, or maybe that was 2 Caffeinated Changes ago, and he's in. We're starting to get settled. As you can see, there's some plants around me. There's some books out. Oddly, this one says Knives and Swords, which doesn't really give you a representation of the whole library. Laugh out loud. But as well as all of the books and the plants, we also moved our cats in together, and that's a whole research project in power dynamics. Let me tell you, the piece of this organizational system that I have at home has been completely disrupted by an incoming new feline friend, but they're slowly finding their way. Who knows? Maybe we'll have, some activity during this live Caffeinated Change, and you will hear some cat scuffles. Anywho, so I wanted to talk about vision. I wanted to talk about joy. I want to talk about serendipity and trust. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, I am spending a lot of time this summer resting. I've mentioned this a few times. Giving myself permission to rest. I have the privilege of rest. I have the ability to take time away from my work And I'm recognizing just how much rest is a privilege, because rest gives you something, it returns a power to you. And so I'm spending a lot of time resting. That means a lot less work, a lot more intentional work. The companies that I'm working with are ones that I really want to be working with. The projects that I'm working on are ones that I'm not pushing my way through. I'm allowing a lot of ease, and I'm allowing a lot of ease into that work. Do I feel like building this document right now? No? Okay, maybe now's the time. What if I step away? What if I read some fiction? What if I move my body? I'm trying to listen inward and to hear the messages that not just my mind, but also my body and my spirit and my soul have to tell me. I really want to use this moment in time to become a lot more acquainted to my intuitive approach to growth and my intuitive approach to change. I think this is important for all of us to think about right now. If we have the privilege of rest, the opportunity to rest, the opportunity to step away and to really reground and return to our source. Where are we getting our messages from? This is what I want us to be thinking about. Where are we? What messages are we hearing? Are they our intuition? Are they an internal monologue telling us that we need to be productive because that's the way that we establish our value in society? Are our messages from the educational system that we went through, or from our parents, or from our peers? How can we become more closely acquainted to our own inclinations, our own urges, and our own wants, and our own dreams? So I spent some time this week, prompted by a strategic advisor that I'm working with, who's really fantastic because he's supporting with business growth, but he's doing so from this like very, very zen, very grounded, very respectful place. He respects the cycle and the process of creativity, and also he knows that it takes sometimes you're not in that push phase. Sometimes you're in the mindfulness, reflection, pausing phase. So his exercises are really interesting because they're deep. And one of the exercises that I had to do was not just visualizing the future of my business, but creating an actual vision board this week. And a few things came out of that vision board that I was really struck by. And this is surprising because I spent a lot of time visualizing. I spent a lot of time putting my ideas down on paper. But I essentially I compiled all of my different vision aspects, and some of it is program related, leadership program related, and culture building related, and the impact that I want to have, and the role that I want to play in the future of my business, and in the future society that I get to be a part of. But I also realized, that the future, the vision that I see is not I, it's we. I really, all of the work that I do, although I've been an independent consultant for 10 years now, not always playing the role of consulting. I've been a creative director. Latif, it's so good to see you in here. I'm so glad to see your name pop up this morning, Latif. How are you? You know, I've done vision boarding, and it sometimes it comes off as a little bit cheesy as an idea, but then once you get into it and you really let your mind wander, it was a very exciting experience for me to kind of put it all down in paper, because it's not just you have this, maybe for some people, you have this whole collection of images and screenshots and keywords and stuff, and you kind of drop them on the page and see how it lands. But for me, I really started recognizing that there were some key categories of information that were coming up as far as the impact and the programs I wanted to build, the communities I wanted to be a part of. And yeah, this whole notion of not I, but we. And for someone who's been an independent, mostly worker for so long, it's to realize how much and how strong the urge is to be in community and to work as a collective and to be in a hopeful collective. That was really very eye-opening for me. I want to be surrounded by people, and I want to be working with people who not only believe that things can be better, but also understand the direct impact between their personal choices and things becoming better. And the other thing that I realized in putting down this vision board is that not all of it is concrete. A lot of it is highly conceptual, and some of it is just a feeling. Some of it is an energy that I'm working towards. This sense of free growth, collective change, working in community. Those things, as far as the tangible, how we make that happen, will look different as I let things evolve. It could be a learning community. It could be a leadership program. It could be culture building strategy. It could be one-on-one leadership development. That will evolve as I go. And tying this back to the first topic that I was talking about and the reconnection with my intuition, what I really want to be doing this summer and what I hope for all of you is that you not get caught up in the process of the how and in the structure of how you will achieve the vision, but that you set some really ambitious visions down in writing or in images, and you think about the energy that you are working towards, that you want to be working towards, and you allow some trust and some serendipity and some curiosity into the whole decision-making process as far as how you move forward. I think we need a lot more curiosity. I think we need a lot more free exploration of how we will step forward, because we have this great opportunity right now to not do things as they have been done, but to question and to get curious about the ways that we genuinely want to do things, especially as conscious leaders, as intentional, open-hearted, societally minded individuals. We really have an opportunity right now to reimagine how things will be built, and to do so from this very hopeful, and I don't even have the words for this right now because it's all, I guess there's a part of me that feels a little bit apprehensive about saying this out loud, but I really feel like a lot of this comes down to trust and to love and to an intention to love and to bringing more of that love of self and that love of the people around you and that love of what could be into the business decisions that you are making. So if I have any one piece of advice from all of that, and that my whole process over the last week and a half of just really allowing myself to listen inward to my intuition and to also dream big with this vision board, my piece of advice would be allow yourself to wander with curiosity into your wants and your genuine desires for the future. And try not to stifle those or allow well, how are we going to achieve that? Or that's not realistic. That's not how we've done it. Well, who would care about that? Try to set those voices aside for the short term and instead spend some time really thinking about where we could take this next chapter. Yeah. And then the final point in all of this vision boarding and rest and all this stuff is that I've really been giving myself a lot more space for serendipity, I suppose, like for encounters, for conversations with strangers, for long conversations with friends, for the magic that happens when you are connected with people, either directly in conversation or indirectly, just in being around them. There's so much discovery about yourself to be uncovered when you are around other people. And I was just talking about this with a friend last week about like how much we missed random encounters. We were on the roof of her condo, and then we had a conversation with someone neither of us had met, a really in-depth conversation about the educational system. And it was exceptionally moving and so super interesting. And afterwards, we were just like, wow, random encounters. We are so desperately in need of random encounters. They're so eye-opening. You know, they just pull us out of this tiny bubble that is our life and allow us to just feel other people and experience the connection that exists. Darren, whenever I get asked the what motivates you question in interviews, I always say love. Oh, I love hearing that. Thank you so much for saying that, Darren. That says so much about you, just that comment. I just like, I love that you have I feel like it takes courage to say that. And I hate that we have work environments where it would take courage to talk about love. But I admire that so much. Thank you for sharing. I wonder what I would say if I was asked what motivates me. What motivates me? What motivates me is the potential of our individuality. We live in so many boxes. We work in so many boxes. We're told how to act and how to be all the time by so many sources. And people have these perceptions of us that confine us. And there's so much potential in our individuality. And I'm motivated by peeling back the layers that retain our individuality, that stifle our individuality, and creating just slightly more space for room for people to be exactly who they are and to see what happens. That motivates me a lot because there's just so much magic potential. I feel like I've said magic a couple of times. There's just so much magic when people can just be themselves. And yeah. So I wanted to read some pieces actually from an article connected to this notion of being in connection with other people again. This is an article from Adam Grant, who has, is a psychologist. He writes, he speaks, he does a podcast about organizational behavior, relationship building, mostly at work. And he wrote Give and Take and several other books. Anyways, Adam wrote an article in the New York Times called There's a Specific Kind of Joy We've Been Missing. And there were two parts that I wanted to share. When Emil Durkheim first wrote about collective effervescence in 1912, it was the eve of World War I and 6 years before the Spanish flu began its deadly spread. But the Roaring Twenties brought it back in full force, brought back effervescence. People sang and danced together and watched and played sports together. They didn't just find collective effervescence in the shallow fun of frivolous activities. They also forged it in the deep fun of creating together and solving problems together. That decade brought an explosion of popular art like jazz and talking films, recreation like water skiing, and medical advancements like insulin. Again, just so much potential in us reconnecting right now. He continues, as some countries start to reopen, collective effervescence will happen naturally. It already is. There will be fewer zombies roaming the internet in their pajama bottoms, reaching out listlessly through their computer screens. Some of us have already started feeling the thrill of creative collisions at work and the rush of a real vacation. But getting out of the house doesn't guarantee that we'll pursue happiness the best way. Psychologists find that in cultures where people pursue happiness individually, they may actually become lonelier. But in cultures where they pursue happiness socially through connecting, caring, and contributing, people appear to be more likely to gain well-being. And he ends with this: the Declaration of Independence promised Americans unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If we want that pursuit to bring us bliss, it may be time to create a declaration of interdependence. You can feel depressed and anxious alone, but it's rare to laugh alone or love alone. Joy shared is joy sustained. There's a whole piece of that as well, that interdependence piece, which is about not just sharing joy, but sharing grief and sharing loss and sharing care and sharing respect and creating space for others, creating space for the coming together of people. So many of these caffeinated changes, and I've said this already, have been heavy because of the news. And I really wanted this episode to be hopeful, joyful, hopefully inspiring to some extent, and to give you an opportunity to really think about what could be. And as Darren said, I know, Declaration of Interdependence. I'll share the link to the article. Once this live is done, I will edit the details. I'll drop a link and all that stuff. As Darren said, we need to go back to the fundamentals of what motivates us, this love piece, connection. I invite all of us to spend more time connecting this summer. I invite you often in my work to connect with yourself. But in this case, what I want to say is, spend time connecting with some strangers. Go feel that the magic of the random encounter, how much it opens your mind and how curious it leaves you, how exploratory it leaves you, and allow it to kind of allow those random encounters to guide you forward. Don't have that entire path figured out just yet. Allow the random encounters, the conversations with strangers, the conversations with loved ones, the time on your vision board, the quiet moments listening to your intuition, the time spent in community. Allow all of those moments to inspire you and to leave you curious and to allow you to see that you don't have all the answers and that so much more is possible. I hope all of this makes sense, because a lot of this is just a feeling that I have. And I hope that I'm transmitting it as best I can. Okay, so thank you for being here. Latif and Darren, thank you so much for engaging in the comments. As always, if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you want to engage on the topic of change, on the topic of creativity, on the topic of collectivity, on the notion of the Declaration of Interdependence, my DMs are there. Jump in the comments. I hope you're finding moments for you. I hope you're finding moments for love. I hope you're finding moments for rest. And I genuinely can't wait to see what we build from this shit show of a couple of years that we've been through, and from the awakening, the collective awakening that we've been going through. That's it. Je vous aime. Have a beautiful day.